Attila the Hun. The man who exposed Rome's weakness. Most people remember Attila the Hun as a barbarian, a savage on horseback, a destroyer from the edge of civilization. But that version is too simple. Attila was not dangerous just because he was violent. Violence was common in the ancient world. He was dangerous because he understood something far more important. Great powers do not fall only when they are attacked. They begin to fall when their enemies learn exactly where they are weak. And Attila learned how to make Rome afraid, not by becoming Rome, not by building a civilization like Rome, but by forcing one of the greatest empires in history to react to him. That is why his name survived, not just as a conqueror, but as a warning. By the time Attila rose to power, Rome still looked enormous. It still had wealth, cities, armies, laws, prestige, and centuries of accumulated power. But appearances can be deceptive. Underneath the grandeur, the Roman world was becoming brittle. Its borders were harder to defend. Its politics were more fragmented. Its military strength was increasingly stretched across too much geography and too many problems at once. This is how old powers often begin to weaken. Not all at once, not in a single dramatic collapse, but slowly, internally, unevenly. Rome still looked like a giant, but giants can become unstable long before they fall. And into that world came Attila. There had always been threats on Rome's frontiers. That alone was nothing new. What made Attila different was that he was not just another raider. He became the center of a moving system of pressure. He commanded mobility. He commanded fear. And most importantly, he commanded uncertainty. That matters, because institutions like Rome are strongest when they can predict, organize, and absorb threats. They are weakest when forced into reaction. Attila understood tempo. He could move fast, strike hard, withdraw, negotiate, threaten, return. He turned unpredictability into leverage. And once a leader learns how to control the psychological rhythm of conflict, he becomes more than a military problem. He becomes a strategic one. Attila's greatest weapon was not just the horse archer. It was not just fire. It was not just brutality. It was fear with a reputation attached to it. His name traveled ahead of him. Cities heard stories before they saw banners. Courts heard rumors before they received and rulers began making decisions under the shadow of what Attila might do next. This is how power expands beyond battlefield strength. Because once fear enters the mind of an enemy, it begins shaping policy for you. Attila did not need to occupy every city. He did not need to permanently conquer everything in his path. He only needed to make resistance feel dangerous, expensive, and uncertain. That is a different kind of power, and it is often more efficient than direct control. The conflict between Attila and Rome was not just a clash of armies. It was a clash between two different systems. Rome represented scale, structure, administration, and legacy. Attila represented speed, concentration of will, and coercive pressure. Rome had more history, more infrastructure, more institutional depth. But Attila had initiative, and initiative matters, because it forces larger systems to spend energy defensively. Again and again, Attila pressured the Roman world into response. Tribute, negotiation, mobilization, alarm. Even when Rome endured, it was enduring at a cost. That is what figures like Attila reveal. They reveal not only how strong an empire is, but how expensive survival has become. And when survival becomes increasingly expensive, decline is already underway. Attila's legend grew because he came to symbolize more than destruction. He symbolized vulnerability. To the Roman imagination, he was not simply another enemy. It was evidence that the empire's outer image of strength no longer guaranteed control. That is why his story lasted. History often transforms violent men into myth. But not every violent man becomes unforgettable. The ones who do are usually the ones who expose a deeper truth about the age they lived in. Attila exposed Rome's fragility. He revealed that power without cohesion becomes defensive, that wealth without confidence becomes tribute, and that institutions can remain impressive long after they have begun losing strategic control. That is why the memory of Attila endured far beyond his lifetime. He became the face of a civilizational fear. The real lesson of Attila the Hun is not simply that brutal men can shake the world. History has always had brutal men. The real lesson is that systems become vulnerable when they grow too slow, too divided, too self-assured to recognize what is happening around them. Attila mattered because he recognized the moment. He saw a great power that still looked dominant, but was becoming reactive. And once a rival understands that before the empire understands it itself, the balance begins to change. That is why Attila still matters. Not because he was uniquely savage, but because he understood leverage. He understood timing. He understood fear. And he understood that the most dangerous moment for a civilization is not when it looks weak, but when it still looks strong. Attila the Hun is remembered as a destroyer, but perhaps his real historical role was something else. He was a revelation that even the greatest powers can become fragile, that fear can be weaponized more effectively than conquest, and that decline often becomes visible first, not to those inside the empire, but to the man riding toward it.